Okay, we're live for the Data Value Show today. We're going into theatre. We're taking data culture into theatre, and we're going to have Eva talking about what's data culture all about and how we can bring it back to life, make it more stronger. Anyway, Eva, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you, Chris?
Well, I was a bit stressed actually because you didn't turn up until 10 seconds before we meant to start.
Yeah, I had some difficulties.
No worries.
Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, we can just wing it and see.
And, even if we had have met before, I don't think it would have made much of a difference anyway.
I don't think it actually had.
Obviously, we've met. You presented on our panel at Big Data London last year, and you generated some spicy debates on the panel as well with the audience. And in true style, you did the same thing at the Winter Data Conference recently as well, especially on the data modeling panel. So, and also got to see you at Day-to-Day Texas with your presentation there as well. So, I think there's a lot of stuff that I think resonated from both your talks you presented. But for the audience that don't know you, obviously you're famous in Finland, but anyone else outside of Finland, most of you may know you, but would you like to give yourself an introduction?
Yeah, some people don't even believe Finland exists. So let's start with that. Yeah. It's not a myth, it's a country.
It's not in the States of America. Not yet.
I don't think they have noticed yet that we exist. So we're safe. So at the moment, I'm a senior data engineer. I'm a co-founder in a company called Invinity. We're specializing for healthcare data solutions and thinking better ways to use open source solutions to build some resilience in the data sphere in the healthcare sector. I'm also a founder of Data Tribe Collective. We are a grassroots organization for data communities. We help career shifters and juniors to get employed and find a job, and sort of bridging that gap between formal education and employers. And also Helsinki Data Week and Helsinki Data Mafia, you probably heard. So I'm one of them.
It.
Yeah.
Apart from that, not much. I mean, that's enough for anyone. Shout out to some of the listeners outside Ramona and our good friend Joe Reese as well, and good friend Ramona as well. But so thanks for checking in. Yeah, no pressure now, So obviously we were talking about what to discuss and the topic for the show today, and culture is a big focus now, and I want to probably start is what is data culture in your view? How would you describe data culture?
I think it's a lot to do about how we approach it from systems thinking point of view. I think it's starting to think how data moves in the company, because data doesn't really care about organizational structures or hierarchies, or it's I call it a litmus test, how data moves and flows. And I think the data culture is sort of understanding that there is this data that is forming. It's like an exhaust of the business.
In a pipette dish. Is that's data culture?
Sorry?
Is it in a pipette dish?
Yes. And it can go good or bad, depending on the culture.
Or COVID. It could go either way.
It could go either way, exactly. And I think that's the culture, and it exists there, whether you want it or not. So you can also make it, you can eat your probiotics and have it work for you.
That's your data governance team. They're the friendly bacteria. Yeah, we're taking
Exactly.
Yeah, in fact, yeah, we haven't even rehearsed this. We're in theatre and we're actually talking about medicine as well. Yeah, how
Yeah.
on point are we?
Mhm.
So I'm just making some notes there as well. And there's one thing I want to touch on, which is, yeah, where does data culture fit to company values? And well, I think there's maybe a look. Is there a link to those two things, or maybe a company, the business strategy? But then I think what you were talking about there, it was more about ownership of end to
Mhm.
end, from
Accountability,
from
maybe.
inception of your data being used to the consumption
Yeah.
at the other end. It's and it has been fragmented in organization, which is, oh, that's the data team's problem. Oh, that's the operation team's problem. And
Yeah.
we need to get one big happy hour where it's not just a data happy hour. It's like, operations and data, but it doesn't have, get them all together in a place, and it'd be a much easier a way of creating that data culture of ownership of the end-to-end process.
Yeah, I think it's about caring. You have to have like that accountability, and you have to care about the company. And obviously the company should show that they care about you, and that cultivates, this sort of accountability, that you actually care about what you're doing. You care about the other person, you care about the last mile, you care about the handoff. It doesn't
Yep.
even have to be data culture, it's culture in general, which
Yep.
sort of, flows to data and flows to everything. Can you trust each other? Do you, is there psychological safety? Can you innovate? These are all like sort of the same problem, I think.
So again, the accountability, I was just like trying to, accountability can be provided in two ways. It can be provided or enforced with evidencing, when they haven't done it right, or making sure that they follow certain processes, and that accountability. Well, you obviously need that, but I think it's the accountability of understanding what the bigger picture is. So if okay, we're trying to achieve this objective of reducing our company churn or something, or customer churn, and then everyone understands, okay, well, we're accountable from a business to achieve that. So let's work out how we get these things done, and will be measured on our ability to reduce that churn. If you start getting like accountability of, for example, data quality accountability, which is another topic really, but this team, or this system, their data is 90% accurate, whereas this one, you're 85% accurate, and you're measured on that when some things are outside of your control. So it's how the shaming approach of getting people to do it, or actually making people understand is, what difference that data quality difference makes. That has a net value of X amount on lost revenue. Okay, right.
Yeah. So to understand exactly. So you understand, I think everything starts from strategy, as it should, and then flows from there. And how well can you make that strategy into the pragmatic level, so that everyone can, bring in their sort of share. And also that's also data literacy, to understand how it affects when you don't necessarily always fill all the fields in a system, but also that should be in the software engineering, to be thought of, that there's not free form fields or optional fields. Even the software design should start from the business processes, and all of it should be like this neural network. It should, that's the hardest part, I think, because these are like organizational problems, people problems. We talk about data, but it all comes to communication. And is there trust? Do people want to align?
Transparency as well.
Yeah.
With transparency, you gain trust as well, which is a two-way street. Really.
So I think it can be data, it can be building a pyramid. I don't know, well, it's like people working together.
There was a lot of maths involved in that, and probably a lot of data there to work out to get it all lined up. So
and I also read about pyramids, that it was also being an honor to be part of building those pyramids. So these were like, people really caring about the end result. Of course, there's probably a lot of things happening there, which was, but like, that's what I heard. But
yeah, and it's a going back to that, using that example of people being happy to be part of that. It's self fulfillment. I was part of creating this great pyramid in this case, but in our world, it could be this great data model, with great data quality checks on it, and a nice, great visualization with some machine learning that automated all your business processes, and maybe some people prefer to build a pyramid, but
yeah, and I think it's also like the sort of modern way of thinking about it. The leadership should not be top down. It should be servant leadership, also helping and building those, taking the people together with you. And I think there is a whole, we're going through many big changes in organizations, not even saying about AI yet, anything, but like, the power is shifting, or it's, how we consider organizations are run. And, everything affects everything, of course. But my background is in business process management, or like development and project management. And I think I learned from there a lot, which helps me today in data. So I think in systems, I don't think just my part as an engineer.
Yeah.
I think I can't stop thinking like the chains.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, and I think it helps a lot more, that I understand that, than if I would have used 10 years of becoming a better programmer. Then
it's, and especially now, linked to this next comment about, we'll come back to Ramona in a minute, but with the ability to code much easier now with AI, understanding what the business processes are and actually architecting whatever you build around that, it's probably an easier way than someone that used to code working out how they link to business processes if they've never seen it. But the comment I was going to make there is that, do you think there's a fear of AI that maybe having a negative effect to data culture? So in organizations where they think, oh, if I share too much, my job's gone, they're going to automate so data culture is for them, it's, well, that's AI, that's taking my job. So is that a problem, do you think?
I think that comes again back to the psychological safety, and how the company has solved things before. I think this is also very different in different countries, because I was thinking about this at Data Day Texas, because I felt some people were afraid of this at their companies. I think it was only me and Ule Simpanio who raised our hands when we were asked who belongs to a union. So in Finland and in the Nordics, we are unionized. So we're not that afraid of changes, of being like unemployed quickly. Of course that happens, but it's a bit harder to sort of happen. But then again, I think it's everybody's responsibility to show up. I think you need to stop being afraid and sort of seeing the opportunities, and it's sort of, that's the world we're at today.
Yeah, and I think these people are overlooking what their key skill is, and that's problem solving. If they're in that job, they know the business processes, they know how links, they know how. So there's always going to be a need for that, if not in that organization, in another organization, and maybe taking the skills you've learned, that the thing that took your job. Okay, well, now if I combine those two things, that actually created my job. I've now got a new career path where I'm using my business process skills with some AI automation to help companies understand what actually really is happening with their business processes, rather than what they think is happening with the process. So
I think there's also like the social contract between companies and employers, or like company employees, is breaking. There is like, the trust is breaking.
Yeah.
So everybody becomes their own enterprise. They are like, now companies are looking like who they want to merge with. They are looking at employees like companies that they want to buy. So you have to understand that you're responsible of your sort of worth, which is hard. Like, I don't like to like say it like that, but that's the reality.
Yeah.
You have to be thinking like you're your own company, and sort of negotiate from those terms, and also keep your skills on that level that you know that I mean, I think it's like this adaptability quotient they are saying now, AQ, not EQ or IQ, but how well do you adapt to change?
Yeah.
Because we are the world is a mess right now, you know. And everything is going faster. But I think I'm at this point I'm just LARPing, you know,
Yeah.
trying to figure out a way, but also trying to keep myself calm in the sense that
we've had to go agile with our lifestyles now as well. Is we have to have a scrum each week to work out, okay, well, what tariff's going to go up, or what's going to happen here, or what next AI tooling is going to come out and change, disrupt the world again. We've got a question for you. So here, one from Ramona. Here we go. Do you see as a top down, or bottom up, or both? We're always like left, shift right, top down, bottom. It's like it's always a direction, isn't it? But just an observation, Ramona. But yes, what's your view on this?
I think it's the leadership that should show, accountability first. If it's like this kind of culture that people are looking up to for the leadership. If it's more autonomous teams, I think we are social animals. So we learn by how our people around us are behaving, especially somebody we are looking up to, or if they're not being accountable, why should we be? I think it's about also honoring and respect, if there is respect. So
it's creating a team sport, isn't it? Of we're all in this together. And I'm going to start my response with "it depends," Ramona, just because I'm a consultant. But
I was just going to say that's a consultant answer.
And it's great if it's dictated top down, a data culture. It means that at least the company has recognized and acknowledged that they're data first. that probably will provide training and things like that, because without a program of data culture, they will put all the supporting factors in there. If that doesn't happen, I think there's something that can actually trigger that top-down approach is having that bottom-up approach, where play back to different business units what your team's done for another business unit. Create that FOMO experience where, oh right, my God, they did that for that team and they're on time and they're really happy, and that team's now talking about it. The data teams, having the business talk about what the data team did for them, and that will create a bit of a FOMO. The risk's been taken out because someone's already done it first. It's a way of creating that culture naturally, rather than it being enforced. And later on, that could generate oh right, I see what is going on. Let all the departments that were dragging their heels, all right, all the rest of them, I've seen these great improvements. Right, that's going company wide now. A a top down mandate happens. So
and that's also the culture of being able to fail, or being able to try, have that investment from the top. So
it's a very hard one and we all know from experience, we all learn from our mistakes. For a company that's always looking at the bottom line and things like that, it's not always an environment that is very forgiving when you do make mistakes. So make mistakes when you work for small companies, they're more forgiving. So,
the world has changed. We are not in a stable environment anymore. It's more like survival, to be honest. So it's different. You can't lead with the same mindset in this environment. it's not like the same growth of like the traditional neoliberal thinking that it was. Now it's, you know, we have to think about resilience, being anti-fragile, thinking about really important things like that. It's not an easy turf in that, so we have to experiment.
Yeah, there's another question coming. I'll get back to that in a minute. But I just want to go back to that that change, people's ability to be able to react to change or feel comfortable with change. And I think that my experience over the time, I think the job I'm in now is the longest job I've ever had, but it's with my own company. But and before then, I was a contractor over the years, and I always left when I got bored. So if I wasn't learning anything new, or it wasn't either new technology or a new industry, and everyone just asking me for stuff that I'd already solved or it had already been documented somewhere, and they're just using me for my knowledge internally, then that used to annoy the hell out of me, and I'd get probably less focus on it, and I'd be off to the next contract to go and find another industry or another technology which would be something new to learn. So for me,
sounds very familiar.
Yeah, so for me, change was like, yeah, fine, you know, new place, new people. But speaking to other people that have been in jobs for quite a while and normally permanent because you're there for a longer period, and you know that's moving from, you know, more of that family feel of that, you know, that company been there for ages, you know. It's quite a daunting. It's like moving city or having a new partner. You know, it's like it's a very different a different experience.
Yeah.
So
I think that is exactly it, and it's by accident that a lot of different careers, also partners, but you know, it has been a big teaching experience to have that change happen in my life, and sort of feel comfortable with that. And I think it's like, if you're afraid of something, it becomes this thing that you're not sure if you can do it until you do it, and then you're not afraid about it. You're not afraid of it anymore.
Yeah, and I suppose linked to you know, we've got our meetup on the 23rd, and we talk about data culture being within an organization, and I think there's an extension to data culture as well, which, you know, if it's just in your own organization, you, depending on the size of it, you're living in, to some degree, a bubble of what's going on in your world. Extending that, going to these meetups or conferences like the Winter Data Conference or your Helsinki no bugs or day-to-day Texas or any of these more independent ones, I'd say, or Big Data London's, you know, another one there's some, even though it's very large, you know, they've got good groups where you can meet up and have that community sort of feel. So there, you know, you've got an environment where you can speak to other people and maybe a little bit more reassured of, oh, you're going to go change job? What are we doing? Oh, yeah, it's very similar, this technology to that. Or, yeah, I did that transition before. Or, you know, these are the things that helped me when I was moving from Synapse to Snowflake. I had to do it that way around, obviously. Yeah, and it can be a little bit reassuring and maybe help with that the daunting feeling of moving on, because yeah, as you say, the world's moving fast, and embracing that change, yeah, you probably won't regret it, rather than just being a little bit emotionally attached to how you do things in the time and resistant to change.
And also on that, like, I was just thinking, we have to turn from the individualistic culture to more collective culture and communities. We have to go back to the communities, because we were sort of we have built our lives around ourselves or our families, and like it's an individualistic culture. Finland is super individualistic. We move from home super early and we're like in charge of our lives super early. And it's like, I think at this point, you know, the world turns. It's like, you know, we have to rely on each other more and learn from each other, and because it's going so fast, and it's also we have to support each other, and we are learning, I think, coming back together, and I love it. That's why also I love communities. Data communities in general are super awesome. People are so welcoming. I've always had really good time in all these conferences, and seeing people live, I highly recommend to everyone.
Yeah, no, there is a good community, and I think that giving a bit back, and I'll shout out some people I've mentioned in the past. There was a guy called Rob White I worked with back when I worked for Cognos in the 90s. He took the time and mentored me and showed me the road others didn't. And there's a serendipity and synchronicity or something. Don't do it intentionally, but it's if someone's helped you out in the past, maybe if there's someone you get on with talking to them and they want to get a bit of your time, and they haven't just messaged you like for the first time ever on LinkedIn and just say, can I book half hour in your diary for some career advice? Please don't do that, because I won't have any time at all. But go to the meetup and chat with people, and and
you have to first give before you get, right? You can't build by just taking. It's not like a community mentality, so you have to sort of realize that you have to be the one starting to give first.
So another thing about mentoring as well, we're going slightly off topic. We'll get back to some questions.
I don't think we have discussed.
I look back, the people that I consider my mentors, they never were, they may not knew it at the time, and it wasn't official sort of, yes, I'm this person's mentor and I'm going to. So it doesn't have to be an official, I need to go and find myself a mentor like that. It's you'll find people you get on with, and just learn, and just don't take it from one person, blend it, make it your own. But
isn't it like we're sort of relearning how to be human as well? Like, these are pretty obvious things in a way. And because there's like so much like these politics in companies, or like competitiveness between companies. I mean, even in Finland, we're such a small country, and I think every company wants to hoard the best talent. And I think like we should be combining our best talent to talk to each other and innovate new things and rethink and build something new. There's so much more power when people come together. So
the sum of the individual is worth, the value's worth more. So let's go back to, maybe try and get back to culture also. Well, it's linked to culture to some degree. There's a question here from Haviz, if I pronounce it correctly. So how does data culture relate to data governance maturity matrix for an organization? Do you want to pick that one up, or?
I think it's like the chicken and the egg. Or like, is it the same if we're thinking highly mature in general in data, that usually has to have a good data culture or good culture in general, because data governance is hard to succeed with. First, like, I think that is like the Mount Everest if you succeed in a good data governance that actually is implemented in the organization. So that definitely needs data culture.
I see that the data culture is more of a way of thinking, a mindset of thinking data first, or whenever you think of when someone says, "Oh, I need this new screen or something," okay, what data's on it? It's how that's going to be used. Can we get it somewhere else? But then the governance is more of your internal processes and your depends how far it goes through on the maturity one, your security and your quality processes. So I think a data culture can encourage people when they're doing a maturity matrix, that they go, oh God, here's another one going, have you got this in place? Was that a 3 or a 4? Oh, it's a 3. Okay. Well, no, we're going to do this. Or and you have to have debate with them, and you think, oh, what's it going to be used for? And it's again not knowing how it's actually benefiting the organization. And I think if you've got that right culture in place, when you're going to that maturity matrix, you go, oh well, I know that, I understand, why it's so important. Yes, okay, we'll get involved in that. Or we've done all these things. We've done all these things because you asked us last time. We like processed them all. We're now level 5 on everything.
Yeah.
But no one's ever level 5, are they? Otherwise, consultants won't have any work with them, will they?
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope we answered that one. For you. But all right, here we go. Look, we got a few more things in. What's your okay? Okay, well, this is maybe one for you. It's your health sector question.
I think health sector is like very different compared to industrial or other fields, because there is this like very hierarchical position, and it's also very clinician led, who would decide in the end if the data is used or not. So I think it's you have to go like individually to sort of make them see the benefit, and if they can trust it, or how they win, because I also know that clinicians are super busy. These are all extra work. They have their clients, and then they write do their transcriptions, and then maybe in the evening or weekends or holidays they think about these things. So for us as data consultants, this is like, you have to honor that as well, that it takes time, and there are bigger problems right now.
So, and an issue that's in the health sector, when there's been a analysis, they're normally sponsored by a large pharmaceutical company, with a particular one. So do you think that up until now, maybe not everyone's believed everything they've read? So if you have data that's maybe come from a reputable source that is changing behavior, people may go, "Oh, I now trust this data. I'm going to make decisions based on this data because it has that. It's providing us insight into changing the way we live, changing how cities are run."
It has to be highly beneficial.
Yeah.
I think there's also organizational trauma, because of some large consultancies have actually milked the cow, honestly speaking. So there is a lot of that in the public sector, that people feel that they have been sort of used in a way that they have not received for what they have paid for. Also, a lot of proprietary systems have been sold, which is bad for the public sector, of course. Very closed systems, hard to integrate if at all possible. These are very hard to know in the procurement of systems. There's kind of, that distrust to IT, and, in that world. So you have to first build that trust. But in general, if that works, then it's like a normal, of course it helps when you see the results and stuff
we got
that.
Loads of questions coming in as well. This is a hot topic. So what we got, I don't know what, Val, I don't know what you mean by paying it forward, but you can maybe elaborate on that one. Russell, data community theory, I'll get a community game theory. I don't know what he means by that, but yeah. It's like the Big Bang Theory or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. But he also said, data governance should be intrinsic as part of data governance. Should be intrinsic part of data culture.
Data governance should also be codified in the CI/CDs, and it should be in the workflows embedded, so that it's the default. And I hate the word governance. Who wants to be data governed?
Oh, well, we've tried to make it cool. We had Juan and Tim Gasper from Data.World, and we tried to make data governance cool again. We tried some rebranding. Anyway, I don't know how successful we are, but I think the general thing is that data governance shouldn't be seen as the no police, and it should be embedded in each individual team, and not from
it should help. I know it helps, but it should be sold as like this helps you with your work, that you can be safe, that the pipelines won't break, or you can trust that the data is quality data,
Yeah.
or like anybody else in other functions, it enables them to, these are like good guys, they're here to help you. It's
Yeah.
not like a burden, or you're gonna get caught, or it's not the police. It should,
Yeah, yeah. Taking on the journey with you, or actually having them own the delivery thing is like, we need you. You're part of this project. We want your governance support of it. We need to deliver this.
Mhm.
How can you make it happen? What do we need to do? They're
Mhm.
now part of that. Well, they own the delivery then. So we got
Yeah.
a question from Joe as well. So long time listener, first time, no, many time messenger. How would
Charles.
widespread leverage of AI impact company culture? I think we touched on this earlier a little bit. Really, was like, people
It's
are
about
scared they're going to take our jobs.
I
But yeah.
think the teams will be more autonomous. This takes trust from the leadership also. I think teams are, or especially like, let's say, highly efficient people who are already senior, can be um, super productive with augmented AI by their side, or like have augmented teams with AI. So I think the power shift is there, and I think nobody knows yet how it will be accounted for, in a sense that in HR, a person is always a burden to somebody. It's called like, you have to be accountable for this person, and their decisions and what they make, and what happen. How do you, if an AI agent, let's say, makes a mistake,
Who's
who,
accountable for it?
who's
Yeah.
accountable for it? And these kind of questions, I think, are the ones that need to be solved. But I think,
Yeah, it depends, doesn't it? Obviously.
I think it's a hard, it's a long answer.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is going to impact culture. And I think unless it in certain areas, certain departments, and I think maybe it's the ones that are concerned about it. Maybe they need to get on the bandwagon now. Otherwise,
I think
you won't. Yeah, you may find it a problem getting another or changing your career. So.
there will be different problems in different maturity stages, I would say. Now it's like, people who are sort of AI native, thinking and like, what can I do? They are getting ahead with a lot of new things. And then, I think it's just, we need to have that data and AI literacy first. And also to be critical, because AI, or like, let's say ChatGPT, it's very good at keeping you in your own echo chamber. If you don't understand that you have to ask for critique, you have to ask what your blind spots are, you have to make the AI actually show where your faults are in your thinking. So I think, and it has changed. Now there was recently this study. It used to be more for productive stuff and coding. Now it has changed. People are using it as a friend, as a therapist, and then this was what I was going through last weekend, this rabbit hole. Institutions are failing, right?
Yeah.
AI is coming to patch the role of institutions, the public sector, mental health, schooling. It's quicker because it's there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's available. It will answer you almost every time if there is no lag. But you will ask questions that, rate my essay because your teacher didn't have time, or you want to have a diagnosis of your symptoms because you couldn't reach a doctor. So there is this, it's something that I've been writing about, but there is this power shift that is actually happening, that AI is replacing the public facing institutions because they are collapsing. AI comes. So who has the power if a proprietary AI model tells you what to do?
Well, and we've all seen what it's been trained on. It can come up with
Yeah.
some really bad,
And this is
advice.
happening right now, this shift,
Yeah.
and no government, like, they don't realize it fast enough. I think that,
So there is this
something
part
to
of,
think.
GDPR and then the AI Act, I think, which references of you have to have explainers for any reason or rationale for any decisions being made of rejection of an application.
Explainable AI will be huge.
Yeah, so I think you're going to have to, but then after that, to do that explaining, they're probably going to have to provide the provenance of where they were trained their data on, and then they're going to get done for copywriting because they weren't allowed to train the data on that. So it is a bit of a challenge.
And I think Europe is sort of missing the point, because we are spending all that time to think of the how to regulate instead of seeing what's happening. People are using it already.
Yeah.
In a way that you can't touch. You can't, unless you totally block them. And their VPNs. But
exactly.
This is already happening.
We've got some of the gate crash, because not only did they ask the question, they've come in to actually chat about it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Hi. Good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for asking.
At the climbing gym right now.
You've just been hanging around, have you?
Just been hanging around, climbing the ladder.
Climbing the ladder. Yeah, you're always at the top already. So what are you seeing with the widespread use of AI affecting data culture? So have you seen people quite concerned about it?
Technical difficulties. What did you say?
Oh, so your question. So you asked about widespread leveraging of AI impacting company culture. So is that what you're seeing, or that other people you're talking to are seeing?
I think I'm starting to hear grumblings of it. Yeah, especially in terms of moving up the ladder, so to speak, climbing up. It feels like there's definitely some questions about what's going to happen to management. I think there's questions of what's going to happen to junior roles, and so what's that progression up the org chart, so to speak. I think is one of the things I'm starting to hear a lot about. I was literally just talking to somebody at the gym here about getting a job as a junior dev, and how they knew somebody just finished a boot camp, and now it's like there's no real career prospects in that, whereas a couple of years ago there were. And you're hearing from mid-level engineers and managers as well. If you're seeing the entire management class being gutted at big companies, I think it's going to start trickling down to others. And so part of this was, I think, happening before AI, but AI definitely poured the gasoline on whatever this dumpster fire is. So
yeah, I think as Eva was saying earlier, it's moving so fast. You do a boot camp that was based on material that was created 1 year ago. Some of it will still be relevant. Obviously, the data modeling aspect will still be valid. But
of course, that'll be valid.
What file formats you're using? How you're using Iceberg, how you're using technical catalogs now rather than just business catalogs. How your metadata is flowing through. It's changing very, very quickly. So, so the advice probably for anyone that has gone and done a boot camp and looking for that role, put those skills to use. Don't do an open source project where you go and get some data that's readily available in the public domain. Go and build something with these technologies. Build a DBT and Airflow, DAG that you'll learn, fail, use ChatGPT to help you with it, but you'll have something you can demonstrate and show to someone and actually really explain what's actually happened, rather than just having ChatGPT give you the answers and summarize it.
And I think you have to sort of take that power. Nobody is going to offer that to you, or you have to sort of become visible and build things, bring them forward. This can be really uncomfortable to many people, especially as introverts, But,
so I'm not sure if Joe's just frozen there, or we lost you now, Joe. You're climbing, or
I don't know. I think the reception.
Your image is frozen.
Yeah, image is frozen. Yeah.
I'll cut out.
So. All right. Well, what else is going on in the world? If you want to share with the audience.
Where with me?
Yeah, where are you going to be going next? Where can we find you face to face next?
Nowhere for a bit. I'm gonna be in Salt Lake City until end of month. I go to Denver for a small little thing. I'm in London in May. Actually, I made a mistake. I said April. I'm there in May. And then a bunch of stuff in June. But yeah,
All right. Well, you'll track you
you got
down
it right now.
someplace
As I
sometime.
climb, I'm working on my book. So
Yeah. Oh, well, you're always busy. Well, anyway, we'll speak to you again soon, Joe.
yeah.
Thanks
See you
for
guys.
popping in. Always a pleasure.
Thanks. Take
See you,
care.
Joe. Okay. Let's we'll get back to a bit of a side track there. So we got some more questions here. We got okay. No, I think it's just some comments here as well. So let's talk about the left and right side of the brain, then, shall we?
Oh, I thought you were gonna start shifting left, because that's also
Well, I tell you, before we go left and right, we can do a bit of shifting left and shifting right. So I'm old enough that automatic cars, well, they didn't exist when I first started driving. And then the ones that did have automatics up until not that long ago were never as good as the manuals. And now
I was taught with the manual shift as well.
Yeah, so yeah, they get old stick shift. And I did a post of the gear knob, the gear shift, and it had like obviously reverse is obviously when you go too far left, and you got first. And I said that people are too focused on shifting left, shifting right, whereas what you should be doing is you're shifting up and down depending on what corner you're going into, what gears you're going through. The key thing is agility to be able to move to where your problem is. It could be left, it could be right. And I think shifting too far left and then saying, you got to fix this, you got to do this, nothing's ever going to happen. I think having that shifting left gradually at the right time and encouraging it via culture, via evidencing the impact of said problems, that's the right approach. I mean, but we shouldn't take our view of, by the way, we also need to shift up to the business, shift down to technology and data teams, shift right
back to the office.
Yeah. Into sixth gear, when you're shifting fully right and you're in overdrive. So what's your views on the shift movements?
Well, I just posted today, like, I think it's like all data work is like reverse engineering vibes. So that's my take on it, because I think it all starts with great software, but we have still not, I think this problem was like found in the 40s, that we can't like encode meaning. And I think we're still struggling with that. Like, we have all these logs, all the tables on the earth, but it's still without meaning, and it's still like let in the hands of someone who can just decide to vibe that day if they name the table, in a way that it can be understood, or meaning, it can be anything. And that could be production code in a very large SaaS platform, which will eventually go to every data platform with that same stupid name table, because that guy or girl was vibing that day. This is all like, in character, but you get what I mean. Like, we should move in that sense, we should shift left, but I don't think we can go as data teams anymore left because we are doing so much work just patching everything together. So I think it's like unfair to think that we can even, of course we can do data contracts, but we are not in charge of most of the programs that we are given the data from. So, it's like we can patch it, like we have a data contract with schema changes. Good, that's technical. But also the meaning, or like, what does this log mean in business language or perspective? Who is the customer here? Whatever, that is.
And we always go for the path of least resistance. So, for example, if you know that your data's, and we've seen it, it gets daisy chained, it come from a mainframe, it's on COBOL somewhere, it's got a mainframe that's going out, then someone's put it into a Postgres or a SQL database, someone's put something on there, then that gets spat out somewhere else, that's uploaded to the cloud. I mean,
and they don't see it. They don't see how it affects like everyone.
Yeah, and you think, I could go and report that, and I don't know do those COBOL guys still exist anymore? I don't know. Are they still here? And if you try and find them, and they, or should I go back to the one before, or I just patch it where I am? And you will do it the path of least resistance, so you hit your time. But what you should do is when you do that patch is like, by the way, you got 60 days or within the next. Can you get this on your backlog, guys, to go and push this back there to put that logic there? Because it shouldn't be hit. And then no worries, guys. You help me out the other day. No worries, I'll do that. Team thing.
What's going to be the next big thing? It's going to be data model certified software.
Oh yeah, kite marks.
Imagine being a buyer that okay, if I buy this that hasn't been, the data is not modeled. Okay, this takes 3 months. For my team to patch together, and it still might be changing because we're not like intact. We don't know the vibes. So instead you have data model certified software.
It's like HIPAA compliant, SOX 2 and
auditing.
Data model auditing, and no data cults allowed.
No data cults. No,
we won't go any further on that one. But it's a really, I think it's something that I don't know the movement will actually happen, but it was something that
I just started this.
Exactly. The open.
I think it's
open standard.
It's a good perspective for software salespeople that if you want to have that edge, this is something that is costing a lot of money if you are like a big software and your data models are not good. So I think a lot of CDOs would be interested.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, mind you, they move on so quick anyway, so they won't be in the job for long themselves, the CDO. So yeah, maybe this will help them stay longer. Maybe this will be the.
Is this still the same CDO, which was when it was like trendy to be digital transformation officer?
Oh no, this is the data one. Yeah.
I'm kidding. I know, because like these are still the same problems. I'm just saying. By the way.
We try and solve them with. Was it forward deployed engineers? Was a new one I heard the other day. That was.
Oh really?
Yeah, we'll just. Maybe we'll come back to that. I'm just going to shout out.
We need a new.
Yeah, he I think he was saying, have control of what you're doing at the right time. That's the shift left and shift right thing. I think, yes, I agree, Val.
Yeah.
And it's another one. I think it shut things off to see. Yes. This approach that I've used in the past as well is that, we never deleted things, but when we were doing some migrations and we were estimating it, and they said, you got 4,000 extracts, and think, we've got to replicate every single one of them. Okay, what about, let's just turn off these ones. And no one's like, okay, we'll keep them. All right, how long we keep them? 6 months, 9 months, a year. If no one's asking them after a year, that's it, done.
Yeah, that is the best practice, what Val just wrote.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what Elon Musk did when he was migrating the
Twitter,
just cut all the pages and see what stopped working. Well, obviously everyone noticed by how it was working for a while, but he's fixed it all now, I'm sure, Elon. But so backward deploy engineer. So the concept of this forward deployed engineer, it was I had Paul Dudley on the show. I think it must be last week actually, and I'd heard of this when I was out with some guys with JT and a few others in New York the other day, talking about Palantir. So Palantir's approach is as part of your package when you buy the platform, you get a forward deployed engineer. And I never heard of the term. What they're doing, again, back to that reinventing new names for things that we've already doing, it's just working with the business, understand the business process to work out, okay, this is what we can do. But I suppose someone with technical knowledge of how the platform can be used.
Translator.
Yeah. So everyone out there, if you want a new job now and do you think that's it.
Another role that software engineers figured out not to speak to people is a forward deploy engineer.
I think maybe I know Romano was joking, but maybe that's the backward deploy engineer. They just go sit in the mainframe room and doesn't have to talk to anyone. But yeah. So I don't know what we had scheduled to talk to about today because obviously we didn't have time to go through our points we're going to cover today before. Is there anything that you want to cover today that we haven't covered in the last few minutes?
I think it's like we are living in interesting times because I can also see there's a lot of opportunity for leaders, like if you're not in a leadership position right now, but if you feel you have ideas, I think there's a lot of opportunities to show up, because I feel this is like in many companies, politics, there's a lot of management, but there's not innovation, there's not ideas. What is the next ideology? Like what do we start playing? What is the playbook? There is no playbook right now. So people are like confused. And I think, if you have ideas, bring them forward, start finding your audience. And, I think this is the time that it's like a shift, that it's also giving a lot of opportunity if you think of it that way instead of being afraid of change. And that's my thought.
Really good. I think it goes back down to that community thing we said earlier. If you do want to find some, people, joining a local meetup that's happening. Go to chat to your peers that are working on these same things. Maybe read
find your crew,
people, comment on it. Maybe look at some of the backlog of the shows. We talked about some of these things, topics in the past.
And on Discord, we have Data Tribe Collective on Discord. I know Joe has Practical Data on Discord. These are like super cool groups where people share information and learn. And, I think, it's a lot of these communities out there. So find your own.
Yeah, definitely. And they're not, there is that sort of giving back to the community sort of feel. There's no hidden agendas on most of these things, apart from just people having like minds and like sharing their stories and having a laugh sometimes while doing it as well. Well, we try at least anyway. So if people want to, what's your movements? Where are you presenting next? What's on your calendar?
I was supposed to go to Austria next month, but that got transferred to October. And then we have obviously.
I know the one. Yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, you've already been there recently, so it's not as if.
And I was going to Data Council, but unfortunately, I had to cancel. I'm not going there. So for personal reasons, I could not travel. Sorry?
You've listed the place you're not going.
Yes, you asked that, right? Where I'm not going.
No, where are you going?
I'm kidding. I think next I'm going to Iceland in June. Yeah, Global Data Summit.
Excellent.
Check it out.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll see you at Big Data London again if you're over for that.
For sure. I'm coming.
September. Brilliant.
It's super good.
Thank you for the chat. If anyone wants to find you, best place to get you on LinkedIn, contact you there, yeah?
Yep. Okay. LinkedIn.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.
I'm not too sure it's next week. I think Ramona's coming on soon. Paul manages the schedule and he does a great job, but I play it week by week, so working out what's going on. But Eva, thank you again for being on the show.
Love the
conversation. Look forward to catching up again soon. For anyone listening from London, I'm back there from next week, and we've got our meetup on the 23rd, which we turned into the data career clinic, I think we called it. We're on a very much a theme at the moment. We had the data clinic at the Big Data London. So we've made it a career clinic.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, there might be a hidden agenda. Maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Brilliant. Thanks again, Eva. We'll probably call that a wrap. Thanks everyone for listening. See you again next week.
Thanks.